Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. First, Janet Yellen says that bringing back American manufacturing is a pipe dream and not even a desirable goal. Now, before you get too concerned, remember, this is the same woman who thought that printing $6 trillion wouldn't cause inflation. We've got the clip. Look, you've missed Janet Yellen. You need to have a little bit of Yellen back in your life. Then Boston Mayor Michelle Wu's campaign took $300,000 from a fundraiser tied to the Chinese Communist Party's influence operations. So technically, her campaign was made in China, just like everything else in Boston these days. Meanwhile, an Englishman was warned by a British police officer that asking someone to speak English in England might be a hate crime. But on the bright side, if you're a criminal in the UK, as long as you commit your crimes in a foreign language, you're basically untouchable. And finally, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer visited the White House and tried to hide her face behind a folder during a photo op with Trump. Yes, the same way that a toddler hides when they are filling their diaper. Following the Trump meeting, Whitmer has announced that all future political disagreements in Michigan will be settled by rock, paper, scissors, or, failing that, a game of musical chairs. All right, let's dive in. Former Biden Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen shared her opinion about President Trump's tariffs.
Perhaps it's to bring back American manufacturing, but I really think that's a pipe dream and not something that is likely to be accomplished. And we could even raise questions about whether or not, in a broad-based way, that's a desirable goal.
Yellen says reviving American manufacturing isn't desirable. Well, neither was having inflation at 40-year highs, but that didn't stop you, did it, Janet? Janet calls domestic manufacturing a pipe dream, while wearing a suit probably made in a Chinese factory by a 12-year-old working 16-hour shifts. She didn't see inflation coming, didn't see the bank collapses coming, so if she says that tariffs are a bad idea, I think they might actually work. Boston Democratic Mayor Michelle Wu's 2021 campaign received hundreds of thousands of dollars from a fundraiser who was listed by a Chinese intelligence agency as an official, according to a report from the Daily Caller. Wu's campaign received over $300,000 in fundraising support from Gary Yu, a Boston media consultant and head of a Chinese civic association. Yu is listed as an official by the Chinese Communist Party's United Front Work Department, an agency tied to influence operations and intelligence work. Reports from CCP sources and Chinese state media describe Yu as a recruiter for the Chinese government. Wu's campaign says that there's nothing suspicious about taking $300,000 from a Chinese intelligence recruiter. I mean, who among us hasn't accidentally laundered foreign influence money while trying to become mayor? Wu's defense is basically, that's not true, which is the exact same defense Hillary Clinton used about her emails, Fauci used about gain-of-function research, and Biden used about, well, everything. Asking someone to speak English in England might now be a hate crime. In a new video being shared on social media, an Englishman who is hard of hearing was confronted by a police officer after he asked a foreigner to speak clearly because he couldn't understand him. The cop then warned him that asking someone to speak English could be considered a hate crime.
Apparently during some conversations between yourself, apparently you have alleged, we weren't here so I don't know you said it, but you've alleged to say, speak English? Or was that effect?
Speak clearly.
Speak clearly.
No,
okay.
The gentleman's partially deaf.
Yeah, he
said speak clearly. Yeah. So I couldn't even hear him.
No, and that's fine, and that's why we've just come to speak, because potentially someone could perceive that as a hate crime.
So, it looks like Britain's police are no longer chasing criminals, they're chasing down verbs, nouns, and sentence structure. So if you're planning on a trip to London, make sure you brush up on the 47 different languages you might need depending on which Uber driver you get. Gretchen Whitmer apparently forgot her invisibility cloak and had to improvise with a manila folder during her White House visit. Gretchen Whitmer recently met with President Trump in the Oval Office to discuss recovery for the Michigan ice storm, among several other things. But the meeting took a slightly awkward turn when Whitmer was caught hiding her face behind a folder during a press photo. And I don't think it was because she had something in her teeth. Some of you may remember that she and President Trump clashed during his first term over Whitmer's COVID-19 lockdown policies. And now it's rumored that she's a potential 2028 Democratic presidential candidate. Gretchen Whitmer, future 2028 presidential candidate, spent her time in the Oval Office doing her best impression of a kid avoiding a school photo. After the meeting was over, Gretchen apparently started crying because her security guard refused to give her a juice box until they were in the car. Look, there are a number of legitimate reasons why Whitmer could have hid her face. Maybe she didn't want to endorse Trump, or she didn't want to own a particular policy, or maybe she just had a zit so huge it needed its own zip code. Thanks for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.